The broadcast is now starting. All attendees are in listen-only mode.
Hello everyone, this is Gary Byrne, Managing Editor of Financials Expert. Welcome to today's webinar, Finance Processes and Reporting in an SAP HANA World. I'm glad you're able to join Carsten Hiker and me for this webinar, and I want to thank Carsten for joining us. Carsten co-wrote the Financials Expert article, Make Profitability Management More Proactive with the SAP COPA Accelerator. Just a few reminders for you. If you're having trouble hearing us by phone, be sure to use your personal audio pin, which should appear in the Go to Webinars window. And at the end of the webinar, raise your hand online if you have a question by clicking the hand icon. So I'm looking forward to listening to Carsten explain how SAP HANA can be used for finance processes and reporting. So I'll let Carsten start the presentation now.
Gary, thank you very much for the introduction. My name is Carsten Hiker. I work for SAP. I'm a solution manager, which means my role is done well if I gather market requirements, customer requirements, bring them back to our development team, and they in turn turn these into products that we then bring to the market as solutions. So I'm not in sales. I'm in the solution development and in making sure that our customers or interested people like you on the line here understand what our solutions can or cannot do. It's such a really interesting topic today related to finance. It's the world of HANA, and I'll jump right in with the first slide here that deals with in-memory technology. So wonderful. So this slide talks about in-memory technology, in-memory computing. It's a very disruptive technology. And it's an evolutionary technology if you really look at it. Way back at the beginning of computers, we had those tapes, we had disks later on, we had hard disks, and now in-memory technology is just the next step in the evolution. I have no idea what's going to come 10 years from now, but right now in-memory is the next step in the evolution. It's not something tricky, not something on the side. It's not something that just comes for a day and then is gone. It's where we are moving towards to. And it's a general technology that's available, obviously. SAP has solutions for memory technology. There are competitors that have solutions out there. But what a memory basically allows us is to process massive quantities of data in local memory. So the difference to the world that we're used to, where everything sits on a hard disk, is that the database basically sits directly on the memory of the computer. Therefore, processing time can be up to 1 million times faster in theory. Obviously, we're not there yet because the applications as well as the databases, they are not optimized yet towards the use of technology, in-memory technology. We're just getting there, or we are getting there, and we have already solutions in place that are getting better and better. Point is, if I can now process massive quantities of data in local memory, it means I can also enable real-time analysis. I'm no longer dependent on anyone to create data aggregations, to bring data into a business warehouse so I can slice and dice the data the way I need it. I can access the data right away, and I can make it real time. I can go deeper. A lot of times we deal with data aggregations today. In a report, you might only see 3 dimensions instead of all 50 dimensions. You might not go down to the line item level. You might only have aggregated data like balances. You can't even see the documents. So with the memory computing, the amount of data that you process does not matter anymore. You can go deeper. You can act broadly. You can manage large volumes of data. You don't have to create aggregation levels anymore. It says, all right, I have this big data pool, and I need to make 20 different smaller buckets out of it so I can process the data in a timely manner. What also in-memory technology enables is response time. It will become instantaneous. You run a query, within a second you have the result. No more waiting for a minute, 3 to 5 minutes, an hour, running something in batch overnight to get the result. There's examples out there on our side and the SAP side where we have a point of sale data set of 3.2 billion records, billion with a B, and we can get answers in, let's say, less than 3 seconds. That's 3.2 billion records in less than 3 seconds. That's pretty powerful. So information will be available to our users instantaneously with in-memory computing technology. So this is what the technology itself does. So let's look at the SAP offering. The SAP offering here is called SAP HANA. And as you see in the graphic, it receives data from the SAP Business Suite that can be copied over and now makes it available to reporting, for example, with business objects tools that are flexible and end-user driven. Because SAP HANA at this point of time is a secondary database, we're not replacing the Business Suite at this point of time right now. It also allows for external data or this SAP Business Warehouse to be based on that or fuel it or post data to it. So bottom line is SAP HANA is our SAP platform that's in-memory based, allows us to process massive amounts of data in real time, because now we can also go to the Business Suite and say, copy the data real time over onto HANA. So none of the processes on the Business Suite side change. The processing will take place as before, and once the document is posted, you can copy it. You also see it says real-time copy and not ETL transfer or extraction. Terms that we're used to in the BW world, we replicate, we copy the data over one-to-one. And it doesn't matter how detailed it is, because now we can handle massive amounts of data here on HANA. Because it's secondary, it's innovative, but also non-disruptive. You can basically install HANA, you can start replicating the data, and it does very little to your Business Suite here. And it gives you instant insight now into the data, as I said earlier, with flexible tools from the Business Object Suite that are user-driven, graphical-driven, end-user-oriented, and end-user-controlled in that manner. So SAP HANA is our solution to deliver the power of in-memory to our SAP customers. So we spoke about in-memory as a technology, SAP HANA as a solution, as a platform to do that. And now let's talk about different acceleration scenarios. I can process data faster with HANA. The first use case or the first scenario is basically just using it for reporting based on HANA. We replicate data onto HANA from the Business Suite, from other SAP systems, from the BW system eventually, or maybe even external systems for that matter. And reporting based on HANA will be based on down the line item level, no aggregation anymore, instantaneously, and using the tools that are available on top of HANA. The second scenario, the next scenario, is called an acceleration, an accelerator. We take existing applications on the ERP side and we accelerate them. So we basically replicate the data onto HANA, but we also use that data there within our ERP processes to accelerate these processes and reporting sitting in there. I have a slide that explains the accelerator a little bit more detail later on. The next scenario is basically side-by-side applications. Those would be new applications, functionality that we're not used to today, that will be built directly on top of HANA, which also means that there will be a new user interface. Here, in the accelerator case, we will keep the user interface in place. Under the hood, we change the read mechanism for these applications, which makes them then faster. And of course, we have BW and HANA already, a scenario where you can use HANA just as a database that's extremely fast for your BW reporting, and coming up, obviously, HANA, ERP on HANA. This slide is really important for you in the area of finance to evaluate what you can or cannot do. Here, we only deal with reporting. We only replicate data onto HANA, which means it doesn't change anything in these scenarios to the processes. An accelerator scenario can read data from HANA and therefore can accelerate certain processes. So the different scenarios we'll see later on in the slide when it comes down to the solutions we actually have in place today. So key usage scenario right now is the accelerator. Why? Because it's been available since September last year. There's more and more out there. We'll see in a follow-up slide a current listing of accelerators and a link where you can go to find out what the latest offering is. The accelerator here takes data that's processed in the Business Suite and posts it to the traditional database and replicates it onto HANA. So first of all, you can enable HANA-based reporting through business objects tools, but we have also as part of the accelerators a capability to read data from HANA instead of the traditional database. So therefore, any kind of reports that are sitting in the Business Suite side, as well as processes, can be accelerated. Not everything, but there's examples and specific solutions in place, and I'll go into more detail then. But the point about the accelerator is that we have, as part of the accelerator, some changes to the ABAP code base on the Business Suite side that allows us to now read the data from here instead of here. And HANA is used as a secondary database, not as the primary database in this scenario. All right, so let's look at existing challenges in finance as far as we have been told from our customer base and as far as the market has listed them. So in finance, we deal with process performance challenges. Running reports is performance intensive and can impact period-end closing runtimes. Often those are long reports that go over the entire data set for a period, for a quarter, for a year. Lots of data detail in there. And the runtime of these reports often, even in scheduled, it takes a substantial chunk of your period-end closing time. So the process performance is a challenge. The data volume is a challenge. Sometimes we deal with lots of documents with lots of line items. To be able to process all the data in the time is just a challenge in itself. Speed of analysis and reporting, the time it takes to get any information back from a basic lookup of an individual line item posting, what was posted, why, by whom, or to go over a data set and say, what are the exceptions, right? In the finance area, that's often what we're looking at. Takes a lot of time. And therefore, the productivity. So all those finance users that basically need processes or reporting that take a lot of time, their productivity is impacted. It's not perfect. No one likes to sit back and wait. No one likes to get a copy 20 times a day. So these are the key challenges that we've been told by our customers and by the market. These are challenges that we've known about. And the next slide gives you a little bit of an outlook of what's to come. And that's important in the context of HANA and finance. Volume, velocity, and variety. We see this data in the middle that's kind of exploding. And if you look at an example like CRM, customer relationship management, there's more and more data that they're interested in. They need to know about their customers, about the products, about buying behaviors, about customer appreciation of products. For them, the variety at the bottom here is really important. It's not only what's there today, it's Facebook information, it's Twitter information, LinkedIn information, it's social media postings that are important to them. It could be unstructured. It's not maybe just a posting that you process within SAP that gives information on who bought when, but it might be a video you have to analyze. It might be an Adobe file that you have to analyze. Bringing this back now to finance, a lot of these times, this data explosion is relevant to finance as well. We care about our vendors, and if they're willing to pay, if they're able to pay, if there's any issues. We care about our customers. Are they willing to order? What are they looking at? What products are they looking at? Both on the payables, receivables side from a processing perspective. Within finance, we deal with profitability analysis. We deal with in what markets do I have money, in what markets should I participate in. So there's going to be more and more data coming, and often in an unstructured way, and we need to be able to process all of this data. And the memory technology is basically set to do so. I put that slide in because it shows us where this is going. It's going to be more and more data. It's not going to be less data. And memory technology will be more and more important to process all the data, even within finance. So let's look at the solutions that we have currently available in the ERP finance environment. I use the arrows here, and they have two different colors. First of all, here we have gain real-time insights into large volumes of profitability data. This is an accelerator, the SAP CO-PA Accelerator, that was built for the COPA module. Accelerator means we replicate data over from COPA. We don't change anything in the way the data is processed. And we can now use it for HANA-based reporting via BOB-J tools, or we can bring the data back, not as a transfer, but from a read perspective, and use it for faster processing and reporting in ERP. The second is SAP Finance and Controlling Accelerator that covers certain aspects like general ledger, fixed assets accounting, controlling, material ledger. I have more detail on these solutions in the following slide. The top solutions here, you see real-time operational reporting. So there's a solution out there which has 40 HANA-based reports, and 4 of them are out of the area of finance, mainly I think payables and receivables, and some logistics reports, procurement reports, material management reports. And on top, you see BW and HANA. So these are the relevant solutions that are already available in the area of finance. And I got these solutions from the link that you see below here. So if you want to see today or next month or 3 months from now what the latest solution set is, go to sap.com/HANA/applications, and you're going to be right there at this screenshot. All right, a couple of detailed slides on the solutions that we have in place. You will see the same structure over the next couple of slides here. What is different is those orange arrows. So not every accelerator, not every solution works the same way. So what we have here on the left side is the ERP system. We post data into COPA. It is posted into the traditional database. We replicate it from ERP to HANA. And first thing on replication, as I said, it's a copy. It's not an ETL transfer. The tools here would be SLT, as a system landscape transformation, that you can use for it. Or if you wanted, you could use data services as well. The difference is one is an event-based and the other one is a schedule-based replication. So if you use SLT, anytime a document gets posted on the left side, you could say also post the document to the right side. And with data service, you could say every 1 hour, 2 days, 3 months, go look up what the delta is and post it over here. So different mechanisms to replicate the data here. Once the data sits in HANA, you can basically bring it into a bob-shaped BI tool like Advanced Analysis or Explorer or Dashboard and use it for some flexible reporting. That's the first thing that's enabled here. It's fast reporting and it's flexible with those tools. Those tools today cannot process directly ERP data. So here you have both. You have fast reporting and flexible end-user tools. The accelerator also comes with some changes to the code base in ERP, which allows to read the data from HANA, which means existing COPA reporting in ERP will be faster. And on the COPA side, allocations will be faster as well. The last item here is something that's really interesting with the dotted line. So it's a two-step kind of process that together brings a lot of value to the customer. As part of the Excel, there's also a virtual info provider available. What a virtual info provider does is it's basically a logical query that's executed at runtime. So if you say execute this BW query, it can go at runtime and go against ERP. Therefore, you don't need any ETLs anymore. So at runtime, it's executed. So that means BW can go to ERP for COPA, and if the accelerator is in place, it gets redirected to read the data from HANA. So without direct connectivity between BW and HANA, without BW on HANA, you can use BW queries for COPA in a combination of the virtual info provider and the COPA accelerator. So both pieces together basically allow you to have BW-based reporting out of HANA. All right. From a benefit perspective, it's interesting. Maximize profitability with powerful insights to unlock opportunities. If you can get down to the line item details, if you can select from all the dimensions that are available to you, if you can compare multiple years, if you can do lifetime analysis, if you can do pattern comparisons, what was sold, what was bought every June, shopping cart analysis that says product A was bought, what was the second most sold product that was sold as part of this deal, then you have better information and you can make better decisions. That in turn will turn to increased profitability. So in the case of COPA, the bottom line for COPA is you can do more with the data that you already have. You can understand better what's in there. Everyone can have access to it. You're not dependent on IT to give you data aggregations or custom reports. All right. The Finance and Controlling Accelerator comes or consists of 4 different implementation scenarios. A customer can choose to implement all, or 1, or 2, or 3, any combination thereof. I'm going to go through all 4 scenarios. The first one is financial accounting. And from the scope, the financial accounting scenario of the Finance and Controlling Accelerator covers new general ledger, profit center accounting, asset accounting, and the special ledger. It does not cover the general ledger for a number of technical reasons. It does cover the other areas, and it's a very similar setup that we've seen from COPA. Right? Data is being processed in these modules on the ERP side, posted to the digital database, replicated over. One thing that I didn't mention earlier was HANA 1.0. HANA 1.0 is good enough. We're not writing back any kind of data, so even the most basic HANA version will do. Once the data sits here, these reports that are built, some of them are existing reports, others are additional reports that come as part of this accelerator, will be accelerated. There are certain processes in here that will run faster as well. And in this case, you also see a dotted line concept here. It's not a virtual info provider, it's a data source in this case. So we do reporting faster, processes faster, and we can enable BW-based reporting for these specific use cases based on HANA data. So that's the financial accounting scenario. The next scenario is the controlling scenario. It covers overhead management, so it covers CO line item reporting, CO partner object reporting, two processes here, accelerated overhead calculation and accelerated accrual calculation, and something that's new in investment management and active availability control for investment management. What you see here is there is no BW-based reporting enabled, so it's just a basic scenario of posting data here, replicating it, and leveraging it here, either for HANA-based reporting in BOB JBI or in ERP. The next scenario, the third scenario, is material ledger. So on the material ledger side, we have, again, the faster reporting, the processes in place. We also have the virtual info provider-based solution that allows us for BW-based reporting out of HANA. But we also have another dotted line in here, which goes basically directly from ERP to BW. So in this case, we do reporting, processes, BW reporting, but also a BW transfer. So the standard extractor that you're used to for material ledger that takes data from ERP to BW, in this case, is accelerated as well. It's the only extractor that's accelerated by us in the area of finance right now. It was built on a customer requirement, but then was released to every customer in general. The processes here that run faster, and this is important from the material ledger perspective, is the material ledger reporting, including the material price analysis. It's a CKM3 transaction, and the period end closing, including the actual costing runs. Now, these are processes that can run 2, 4, 8, 16 hours, and they will be significantly reduced depending on the way it's implemented. The reduction here of these processes, obviously, because the process takes so long, are significant because they can reduce the period end closing time significantly. All can fit into those period end closing time windows that are given to you. And let's get to the fourth scenario. We call it production cost accelerator. From an SAP perspective, you're used to product cost reporting for cost accounting. So we take basically all the production orders, add them up, and allow you analysis of the data. Since cost centers provide activity types that can be used in production, we can also have some customer-based reporting, but it's never really linked to production cost. So in this case now, it's a new set of reports. It's COPA drill-down reports, SAP build and customer build ones that will be accelerated. We have power lists and crystal reports for customers on EHP 3 or later, and some HANA-based reporting like cost center and activity reporting as additional dimension for responsibility reporting. So this is customer reporting with a focus on production. Very basic scenario, but still powerful here. We take the data, process it, replicate it, make it available for reporting. Benefits of the finance and controlling accelerator. Obviously, it can accelerate your period end closing through faster reporting, faster processes. You have better insight into your data. A lot of times, especially in finance, you have your regular checks. You want to see some exceptions, especially at period end. You want to make sure everything is properly accounted for, posted for, explained to, and documented. It will help you and give you an increased efficiency and productivity for the user community. You don't have to schedule batch jobs. You don't have to kick off a job and wait a couple of minutes till the data comes back. You should have the information at your hand immediately. Having said that, the accelerators provide faster reporting and faster processes. If your reports are fine, if your processes are fine, then obviously the accelerator would not add much to you. If you have no issues, that might be because IT was pretty good at putting workarounds into place. As I said, if you have large data volumes, IT cannot make them go away. But IT eventually has to archive them, has to create data aggregation levels, has to copy data maybe onto BW into redundant data tubes, create a number of reports that are partially overlapping, but they all cover different perspectives just to make sure that performance works very well. So just because what you have in place today works fine doesn't mean there's an underlying problem with lots of workarounds that IT has put in place. But as I said, it's an option. You know, your ERP functionality is available, will remain available to you. And if performance is an issue, then HANA might provide a new option to you to process these things faster. All right. The third solution that I mentioned earlier already is operational reporting. As I said, it's at 40+ reports all over ERP, procurement, materials management, sales, and finance. And there's 4 finance reports in there. So same thing here. We have faster access to key reports with user-friendly tools like business objects. There's no improvement of processes. This is not an accelerator scenario. It's just a plain valuable reporting scenario. One of the examples of business objects reporting tools is Explorer, and I have a screenshot of Explorer in here for your benefit. Especially for COPA, it's a real cool tool. It's something that I guess would have been nice to have had 10 years ago. Now we have it, and I think now it adds a huge amount of value to our processes and to our productivity. What you see is on the upper left side is all the value fields, all the characteristics of a P&L. It could be your revenue, your cost of goods sold, your contribution margins, your net profit, all these items here. If it would be a GL-based Explorer view, it would be your GL accounts, your expense accounts. Here you have all the dimensions in COPA. And the interesting part is right away, there's a slider here. It's all the dimensions that you have set up in COPA. There is no aggregation anymore. There is no within this report A you can see this, within report B you can see this. All those dimensions are available. You can double click on it, and once you double click on it, this dimension goes down in this layer, and based on the selection of criteria that you have made, you see graphical information here. So in this case, what you see is a report over time for a business area and a region and a sales employee and material number. You can select an entire area here. You can select the number here. It goes down to the sales order line item level. The user is in control. The user can determine basically what he wants to see, right? There's no predefinition of 5 different reports required based on what you want to see. If he wants to go first by country, region, and then city and maybe zip code or something because he wants to look at a geographical kind of data first, that's fine. He can do it. He can clear this all out and say, let me now go and explore my customer groups. It's all within the same data. Within Explorer on the upper right side, you see the number of records processed and the time it takes. Our experience from the COPA implementations we've seen is that you can process within less than a second millions of records. We have a demo that has, I think, 80 million records in there now. As I said earlier, with a point of sale example with 3.2 billion records, I think it's less than 3 seconds. So here, interesting enough, it's a new tool, something that ERP users have not seen often, have not had a chance to use. That is out of the Business Object Suite, and it's perfect for the exploration of data. You want to go down to the line item levels. You want to go down eventually to the posting. You want to slice and dice the data the way you want it. Especially applicable to COPA, but even within the other areas of finance, like even the general ledger, very valuable.
Thank you, Carsten. At this point, I'd like to briefly interrupt the presentation and show you the Financials Expert website. As you can see in the As you can see in the highlighted area in blue, that's the most recent article that we published, and then we have some other articles that have been posted earlier below that. We also have categories on the right that you can search if you're looking for a specific term or functionality. And all of our content is evaluated by a team of expert advisors. There's the biographies of the team. And they evaluate the content for technical accuracy, so you can be assured that the articles, quick tips, and other content on the site contain technically sound content. We've also started enhancing our content with videos to help amplify key points made in an article or explain steps for a process or transaction. And we're also planning to launch a new website in May. In case you are interested in subscription rates, a single user subscription is $895. A license for 2 to 5 users costs $15.95, and a license for 6 to 10 users is $18.90. We also sell enterprise licenses. Now I'll let Carsten resume his presentation.
All right, thank you very much, Gary. For me, the interesting part was when Gary reached out and said, hey, let's do an article on COPA, is that basically through Financials Expert, you get an insight, an inroad into SAP Solution Management. There's a lot of conferences out there. Not everyone might be able to attend them. But bottom line is, if you want to have basically direct content on how to, or how make things work, or how to set up things, Financial Expert is a pretty good source. And I'm saying that also because when we thought about the article, Gary gave us a clean structure of his expectations. You know, how should it be written, what should be written, what should be in there. So then publications there basically are oriented towards the user base, but with an access to SAP in mind. So now, obviously, at the end of the presentation, you have my name. Feel free to reach out to me. But any kind of publications that are valuable from a how-to perspective, how things work, are predominantly coming to Financials Expert. All right. There we go. Now, I spoke about a couple of solutions that we already have available in the area of finance that relates to HANA. And they're all delivered or available for delivery or deployment as rapid deployment solutions. A rapid deployment solution is basically a combination of software, content, enablement, and service. It comes at a fixed price and a fixed cost, so you know exactly what to expect from a duration perspective as well as an expense perspective. So in the case of the accelerators that I mentioned, it comes with the software, and as a Business Suite customer, the good news actually is the software is free. It's included in the Business Suite license. It comes with content and enablement material like project plans, best practices, how to implement the accelerators, how to connect it to HANA, how to replicate the data, and the service. So depending on which of these solutions, which of these scenarios you pick, and it's actually country and region dependent, there's a preset duration and cost, and that can be accessed from the SAP client partner account executive if you're interested in that. So a good way of getting in at a fixed price with a fixed expectation exactly what you want to implement. There's no playing around here. So bottom line, HANA and finance, processes and reporting. It's about better leveraging large volumes of data in ERP that we already have, that you already have in there. It's about fast and flexible financial analysis and reporting. It's about business users being able to build their own reports and views interactively. They can navigate the way they want at their discretion. It's about transparent information for broad usage as and when it's needed. You don't have to wait for Monday morning till another replication or extraction onto BW has finished. Easy exploration of detailed financial data all the way down to the line item level, either to find exceptions or to figure out who made that posting and why and when. And it's all trusted and complete information in one single space. A lot of times, because data volumes are so large, they've been segregated into different data areas, and often then the challenge comes, well, you know, which one is the right version of truth? So then everything can be in one place. Built up slide, a summary, bottom line, in-memory technology, in this case with SAP HANA, in our SAP case, gives us insight, gives us real-time access to data, and gives us speed to access the data, which directly relates to productivity. And that's it from my side. Kerry?
Thanks, Carsten. That was an informative presentation. If you have questions now, remember to raise your hand by clicking the hand icon, and we'll unmute you. Anybody have a question? Up, I see one. We have Rahul. Rahul Sharma, go ahead with your question. Are you there, Rahul? Let's try Rakesh. Are you there? Rakesh? Did anyone else have a question? I see a question that was posted. I read that the skills like Microsoft SQL will be helpful for our ABAPers. What skills as SAP functional people should be developed to be comfortable in HANA?
HANA, in my perspective, is nothing more than another database. It's a database that sits on memory instead of a hard disk. So from that perspective, it's a database, and that means it has access, read, post, manipulation features. It has backup features, all of these kind of things. The way HANA works is basically SQL statements. It's a in-memory adjusted version of it, but basic SQL, as it also used in ABAP, can be reused there. The interesting thing is you could develop your own SQL-based applications based on HANA once the data sits in HANA. So from a development perspective, I think that's the interesting thing. You can you can use HANA as a database that you can address through ABAP, but you can also build your own applications on top of HANA.
Thanks, Carsten. Another user posted a question. SAP HANA, is it going to be a table database or a business warehouse or business intelligence database? And how does that differ from the current database, such as Oracle or SQL?
Yeah. So first of all, the key difference is it's in memory. The database sits directly in memory of your server. It's not on a hard disk. As such, you don't have to define all these different tables, and you have to have your input, output, your read and writes from some kind of medium into the database. Which also means when you process the data, you don't have to read it from the hard disk onto the memory and then read it back. Of course, Oracle and our other competitors, they are building in-memory databases as well. So from that perspective, we're not talking really HANA versus Oracle. We're talking in-memory databases versus hard disk-based databases. The second thing is that HANA specifically has a column view, which basically works very, very well for analytics, multidimensional analytics. So while we have on the ERP side, we have a concept called OLTP, where basically all the transactions are stored in rows. Here we basically take all the dimensions out and store them in columns. And that's really powerful for the analytics side. That's something that's special about HANA. So it's not only in memory, but it's the way we use it and store the data so that it's even better and even more optimized for reporting.
Thanks, Carsten. Another question that was posted earlier, do the application accelerators enable standard ECC reports to pull data from SAP HANA rather than the ECC application database?
That's exactly what they do. So when you implement the accelerator, you implement small changes of code on the ECC side as well. And what basically is done is the typical statement that says, all right, go at the very end, read, so select star from table whatever in ERP. It says go open HANA database connections and select star from the HANA database table. And basically in configuration, you activate that link. So once you have HANA in place, you have the accelerator in place, the code changes in place, you make that switch in customizing and say now it's active. And from then on, basically, those read statements that are supported will go directly to HANA instead of the traditional database.
Yeah, great, Carsten. Here's another posted question. What version of SAP does SAP HANA support? 4.6c, and can it work with all industry solutions like AFS?
Right. ECC 6.0 is basically the version, and there's a specific NetWeaver kernel out there that is required to have communication both ways between ERP and HANA. So if you look at, for example, the COPA Accelerator that says you replicate data over, but you can also use it within ERP for faster processes like allocation, you need to be at least on ECC 6.0. It's an enhancement pack 5 or a NetWeaver, I think 7.02 kernel. And there's a downward compatible kernel available even if you're just on EHP 1. But that basically is required if you want to communicate between ERP and HANA, which means you want to read HANA data from ERP. The SLT, the getting the data onto HANA, is independent of that. So if you have a 4.6c scenario and you use SLT to get the data from ERP into HANA and you build reporting directly on HANA without bringing the data back to ERP, you can enable a HANA scenario as early as 4.6c.
Thanks, Carsten. Another posted question is, how long does an implementation of HANA, how long would it take?
The answer is that it depends, obviously, on your environment. There is standardized services available. Let me put it this way. They are weeks and not months or quarters or years like you use from ERP. I think the COPA Accelerator is a question of maybe a couple of weeks, and the same thing, the installation of HANA itself. But that varies by market, by region, depending on the technology that you want to deploy. In order to have HANA, you need specific data hardware technology. So there's all of our usual partners are offering this, HP, Dell, and so on. It depends also kind of on the technology that you're using. But the SAP account executives, as well as the client partners, they have access to that data, and they will be able to tell you exactly for what scenario, in what country it takes, and how long, and what it costs.
Okay, we have time for one more question, and I noticed one other question that was posted earlier. Is the COPA Accelerator a future release, or is it available now?
Available now, actually since September. The Finance and Controlling Accelerator became available in January, and the RDSs for operational reporting, I think that was even something that came out August or September, October last year. So all of these solutions I mentioned are available right now, and they're available in general release. They have been for a while.
All right. That's all the time we have for questions now. I apologize if I didn't get a chance to ask your question, but you can contact Carsten and ask him any questions you have. Thank you all for joining me for this webinar. Remember to check your inbox. We'll be mailing you a link to download a PDF of Carsten's article, Make Profitability Management More Proactive with the SAP COPA Accelerator. So look for that in your inbox in a few days. Thank you all for attending, and have a great day.